So, part 2. How do I pass this course? How do I pass this paper? First of all, there are 2 books that you need to get a hold of. One that's compulsory and one that I'm just suggesting. The compulsory one is The Old Testament Today by Andrew Hill and John Walton. Now both of these are really, really good scholars, and this is a great book. It's absolutely cram-packed full of pictures with breakout boxes, and it's a really easy read. Now I'm going to be honest with you. I chose this book first of all because it's really user-friendly. I chose it because it's the best of the ones available, in my humble opinion. I didn't choose it because I agree with it. In fact, Walton and Hill have got a very different way of approaching the First Testament from the way that I approach the First Testament, and that's one of the reasons that I want you to read it, because it gives you a second kind of an insight into the First Testament. If all it did was to say the same things that I'm going to say, then it will be pointless to read it. The book is written in sections, and the sections will correspond with the different sections of this course. So for example, there's about 100 pages on the Pentateuch, the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, and we're going to spend about 5 weeks on the Pentateuch as we go through the course. So you have 5 weeks to do that reading. You will find that reading written for you on Moodle. The other book I want to suggest to you is Them, Us and Me by Jackie Gray. It's the book we use at level 4, and it introduces some really helpful ideas. So if your knowledge of the First Testament isn't all that great, then I want to suggest you get hold of Jackie's book. It's really not expensive. Now, each week there will be some sort of a task that you have to complete. It might be a quiz, it might be a forum, or it might be a reflection or a short answer. Most of them are short answers because I prefer those. I quite like the quizzes. Most people like the quizzes. I hate forums. So we're only doing, I think, 1 or 2 of those. They're just really hard to mark. If you love forums, let me know. Maybe I'll stick a couple of extra ones in. If you're a day school student and you don't attend class 80% of the time, you have an automatic fail. The reflections and the weekly tasks fulfill that role for distance students. So there is an expectation that you will do these tasks. There are then 2 assignments that you have to write. Now I suggest that you go onto Moodle and you check up on these assignments straight away, so you know what's expected of you so that you can work towards them. The first is an exegesis on Genesis 22, the offering of Isaac by Abraham. A fairly well-known story. Now, if you don't know what an exegesis is, I'm going to do a recording on how to write an exegesis that will be put up in the next couple of weeks. The second assignment, both of them are just under 2,000 words, is on the book of Ruth. You have to do an introduction to the book. Now, to help you with this, you will find resources on Moodle. There are a whole heap of different resources, about a dozen for each of them. You're required to use at least 6, and you're required to cite at least 6. Not all of the resources that I put up on Moodle are good. Again, some of them I disagree with. I'm allowed to, and you're allowed to, at this level. So you have to sort of separate wheat from chaff. Now, the lessons. There are 2 lessons each week, and those lessons are going to be broken up into different parts to make it easier to watch the videos, and so you can do this with breaks and all that kind of thing. This is the second part of the first lesson. Now, the first couple of weeks of the course, I set the scene. I try and explain the background that will help you to interpret the First Testament. Following that, we start looking at books, because the way that I approach the Bible makes books very important. I'm going to explain that in a moment. As I start to go through and explain the books, and explain that a book like Genesis has a theme, or a series of themes, that it has structure to it, you're going to be learning the kind of things that I'm expecting you to do when you start writing your book introduction. Now, there are 2 lessons each day for the day school students. But then after lunch, we do what is euphemistically called a tutorial. Now, most students and most lecturers are a little bit at cross purposes. You come to Bible school because you want to understand the Word of God better. And we want to give you a set of tools that will help you to do that. But what you really want is to engage the text. Find out what the Bible means. Learn cool stuff. So during those tutorials, which will also find their way onto videos, I'm going to open up passages. And I'm going to teach you how to interpret those passages. I'm going to show you the kind of things that I'm looking for in an exegesis. And I'm going to do that by modelling it. We won't do one this first week, but next week we're going to take a look through Psalm 23 and discover things that you never imagined were there. That will tell you how I expect an exegesis to be written. And the lessons introducing books will tell you how I expect the second assignment to be written. Check up on those assignments straight away, know what you've got to do and know when you've got to do it. That's the end of part 2.